Throughout history's cyclical patterns, society has led us to believe that civilizations as we know them have mostly been dominated through the lens of the patriarchy. The normalization of the historical oppression and diminishment of women has run strong throughout time. Take women in ancient Athens or women in the Tudor period, for example. The commonality within these examples is how the women have been treated more so as objects within their respective societies. So, imagine the pure shock and disbelief on faces such as Aristotle, who believed women were inferior to men, when they heard about Minoan Crete. On the island of Crete, the Minoan civilization thrived during the Middle Bronze Ages. Their intricate maze-like palace complexes, vibrant frescoes, jewels, vases, and pottery were a well-known staple. So what's so significant to me, and many people who have the same feminist lens as I do, is the amount of female representations found in Crete, suggesting an anomalous paradigm to society's tendency to turn towards more. To preface, however, it should be noted that there is a significant gap in our understanding of the intricacies of Crete, as their language has yet to be deciphered. What we do gain insight into their society from, as will be represented within this video, is the archaeological remains which help to illustrate what their society may have been like. KU Professor of Classics, John Younger, eloquently notes, basically this culture on Crete around 1600 to 1500 BCE is the closest candidate for a matriarchy that we have. That's huge. Sir Arthur Evans was the first to use the term matriarchy in describing Crete, as he notes, the religion itself is of an unitary type, revolving around a central theme and being itself the outcome of what seems to have been largely a matriarchal society. Evidence from Crete indicates that women were actively involved in trade, art, and religious ceremonies, among other facets of life, which will be explored through found evidence, primarily through frescoes, which are important as frescoes indicate a lot about what we know about Minoan society. Another point to note is that since the discovery of Crete, debates have remained as to whether or not the Minoan civilization was one of a matriarchy or a patriarchy. Named by Arthur Evans, the Toriada fresco, or bull leaping fresco, has been reconstructed from the side of Knossos. It depicts three figures leaping over a bull, one in front of the animal, one behind it, and one over its back. Evans was the first to identify the two white-skinned leapers in the Toriada fresco as women. Again, paintings, like Egyptian, reserved the colour white for the portrayal of women and men the colour of red. Retired history professor Joan M. Kishon notes the significance of women being depicted within this fresco. Kishon points out that as women would not have typically been allowed to engage in this ritualistic activity in a patriarchal society, their participation within the bull leaping might be understood as evidence of their equality with males in Minoan civilization. The fresco represents that in terms of physical ability and agility, women were at least equal with their male counterparts. Frescoes found in Crete have a substantial importance in depicting not only religious aspects of Crete, such as the significance of the Minoan snake goddess, which provides credibility to the claim that women had a significant role in Minoan culture's religious sphere, but also the importance of women in Minoan society. Frescoes such as the Sacred Grove and Dance fresco are crucial as they provide one of the fullest pictures of Minoan life that we have. Commenting on the fresco, Sir Arthur Evans, as we mentioned before, notes, women among the Minoans, as is well illustrated by their occupation of all the front seats of the grandstands, took the higher rank in society, as is their great goddess took the place later assigned to Zeus. As you can see from this fresco, the Sacred Grove fresco features astounding portrayals of female viewers. The women are clearly depicted and occupy the best seats, while men are grouped together with the same features. This is a clear and staggering juxtaposition, as the men have no indistinguishable and individualistic features. It should also be noted that the significance of having the men seated at the back, as it was typically seen, such as in ancient Roman amphitheatres, and the structures of them, that women would be in the back, representing the inequality of status between men and women. Nano Marinatos suggests that perhaps the grandstand fresco is a depiction of a coming-of-age ceremony instead. She notes, thus here too, as on the grandstand frieze, we have a juxtaposition of the older and younger women of the harem. The former are seated and watch passively, the latter of the protagonists of the festival. Could it be that it is their initiation, their coming out, that is the subject of this fresco? As for the young men, they are also somewhat on display, but definitely a second participant. One of the main archaeological pieces of evidence that John Younger, as we mentioned before, uses to argue for matriarchal Minoan culture is the prominence of large pits that appear to be shrines called lustral basins. Sir Arthur Evans first proposed the word lustral basin, speculating that they were intended for lustration, a purifying ritual. It was made up of a small sunken chamber accessed by a staircase. Their structure seems to match what anthropologists often call a menstrual pit. In most ancient cultures, such lustral pits were removed from the town's village, or often put away into a special area of the house, indicating that women were often ostracized until their menstruation period ended. The dominant narrative of patriarchal rulership that permeates most of our recorded history is called into question by the Minoan culture of ancient Crete. Through analyzing archaeological remains, especially frescoes and building structures, we can learn a significant amount about the status of women in Minoan culture. Once again, the debate between historians remains divided on dominance of one gender over the other, with professors such as Carol G. Thomas noting, "I found immediately that it was not a simple matter to give a definition of matriarchy, for there is little agreement on characteristics deemed to be absolutely necessary before a culture can be described as matriarchal. Indeed, an attempt to define any society as purely matriarchal or patriarchal would appear to be a fruitless venture." While it's important to acknowledge the limitations of our understanding, given the gaps in deciphering the Minoan language, the evidence presented raises intriguing possibilities of a matriarchal society in Minoan Crete. The contrast between the Minoans and other ancient civilizations, where women were often relegated to subordinate positions, highlight the uniqueness and potential significance of this anomalous culture.